one of the things that you write is 50% of our cortex is oriented for vision. When we open our eyes, you've got 50% of your neuronal cortex focused on vision, which is massive computational power, way more than any camera. If we were just taking a photo, we wouldn't need that computational power. But because we're not just taking a photo, but we're actually taking a photo, and I'm adding my own interpretation there, but it's almost like you're saying you're taking a photo and prioritizing everything you see, deprioritizing things, emphasizing certain things, worrying about certain things, not worrying about other things.
Yes. So I would say about 50% of your brain's cortex is involved in all the various kinds of sensory systems. Maybe a third of it's involved in vision, which is still, it's billions of neurons and trillions of synapses, right? It's an incredible amount of horsepower that seems to be involved when you just open your eyes and look around. And most of my colleagues in the neurosciences, cognitive neurosciences, assume that all that cortical hardware is working hard to give you a reconstruction of reality. So there's a real apple out there with red color and a particular shape, and all this neuronal hardware is needed to actually reconstruct, to recover the true 3D shape and color of that apple and other objects around. And what evolution is saying is absolutely not. I'll put it this way, if we assume that our sensory systems evolved and were shaped by natural selection,
which is a big key. It's kind of like, if we assume that.
Exactly. And as a scientist, we always have to say what theory we're assuming.
Right.
And so
if we assume that, which is rigorously well understood, been beaten to hell, it's not the safest of assumptions, but it is a pretty safe one to say, okay, if we assume that.
That's right. And the reason I assume evolution by natural selection is not because I'm sure that theory is true, but I am sure that we have no better theory for understanding biology. And so as a scientist, I would be, it would be silly for me to use anything less than that tool to study this. And I think it would also be silly for me to assume that theory is the final word, right? I think none of our scientific theories are the final word. But we have to go with where we are. You got to
choose a canvas to paint on, and that's almost like the canvas that you start the argument with. So, and that's a very important. I'm calling that out for listeners because it's and within about 5 minutes. I don't know if this will make sense to you, but it'll certainly blow your mind within about 5 minutes, given just what I know of Dr. Hoffman's hypothesis. But that's a very important foundation of if we assume that we have evolved through natural selection, then ... your thinking goes on.
Yeah, then this follows. What follows is the probability is zero that any aspect of our perceptions tells us truths about the nature of objective reality, the structure of objective reality. The probability is precisely zero. And for people who are interested, I've worked with a mathematician. So what we did was we moved from the simulations. The simulations indicated that there was something interesting here. So then I went and did the real thing, which is to work with a mathematician and prove a theorem. So it's a theorem of evolution by natural selection that the probability is precisely zero, that the sensory system of any creature is giving truths about the structure of objective reality.
So the chances that apple is objectively there is 0%.
Exactly right. And the chance that the very language of space and time, of objects and colors within, of shapes within space and time, that very language could not possibly give a true description of objective reality. So I'm not saying that vision makes mistakes and we get the colors a little bit off or the shapes a little bit off or the distances and so forth. I'm saying it's not possible ever to give a true description of objective reality using the language of space and time and shapes and colors and so forth. It's the wrong language. Just to be very, very clear.
No, please go long form with these answers because it's going to set up the rest of the conversation.
Very, very good. Yeah. So if I ask you to, to give I'm teaching a computer science course, say, and I say to the students, I want you to give me a story about how a computer works. But the only language you can use is the language of pixels on your desktop. Well, good luck. That's the wrong language. You can't use the language of pixels to talk about the circuits and software and voltages and magnetic fields inside your computer. It's the wrong language. That's how deep this theorem is. It's saying the language of space and time and objects and colors, the language of our senses is the wrong language. It's trying to use pixels to describe computers. You can't do it. And so I got more than I bargained for.